Computer. All right, welcome to Podcast Power Hour. We do this every Thursday at noon Pacific Standard Time. I am Danny Marie. I'm joined by one of our community members, Leonard, who's been very diligent with participating in these Podcast Power Hour sessions. I want to extend my appreciation that you have had perfect attendance, basically, since we've done all of these, but also that you take the time to invest in yourself. So I know you were one of the people on top of a couple of others who said you want to learn how to build a website. So today's session is website building. I'm going to teach you how to make a website. This takes all of 5 to 10 minutes. One of the things that will help you is prompting. Prompting is key. One of the other things that really helps you is my 5 P's framework. So planning, do you have a good plan in place before you think about purchasing any equipment? A lot of you guys come in with all of these questions. You're ready to hit the ground running, but few of you actually take the time to develop a plan. A plan is going to tell you what your mission is, what your vision is, what the expectation for your podcast, how long each podcast episode will be, how do you plan to find guests, what is your cover art? Do you have a solid name choice, or is your name already taken by someone else? Did you check the podcast directories, social media, the business directories? Do you have a business license? Is your business a credible business because you have an LLC? All of those things are what come with a plan, including the equipment that you purchase when that time comes.
Something
That's
I
the
can add,
key.
something I can add to planning is this. Making
What'd you say, Leonard?
something you can add to planning is when you're disabled, you earn a fixed income. You
That's
really have
right.
to you really have to study and think about what you want and what you need
That's right.
because you don't want to buy things twice.
That's right. So all of that comes in just like every business needs a business plan. Every podcast should have a podcast plan. So I suggest you start with the planning first, especially when it comes down to I want to sponsor. Well, you have to be able to articulate to that sponsor what makes your platform different from any others. What's your niche? And all of that stuff is communicated through pitch decks. You can't develop a pitch deck without a plan. Or you're like pulling from all of this stuff at the last minute. If someone was to approach you and say, "Hey, I do want to sponsor your podcast," you want to be prepared. You don't want to be caught off guard. So it's better to stay ready, and so having a plan where you can pull and extract information very quickly is key. It's instrumental. And then when you hit those plateaus in your podcast, listener growth has plateaued, audience retention, you're not able to monetize like you once were because the economy is shifting like we're experiencing now. Your plan is going to help you make a pivot and land on your feet. Whereas if you don't have a plan, you're kind of chasing and spinning your wheels because you didn't have anything that was solid to begin with. Okay.
Let me
Second P
sorry.
is the platform. Platform in which platform you choose to host your podcast, platform in what you use to record, whether it's a live stream or whether it's pre-recorded. Which platform are you using? So there are things like StreamYard, Streamlabs, Ecamm, Riverside, Zoom, as we're using today. Google Meet is even useful. So those are plans, but then platforms, I'm sorry, those are platforms to record, but then also platforms that will host your podcast. So what do you use for I think I heard you say Apple, Leonard.
No, I use Spotify as my
You
host.
use Spotify. Okay. I use Red Circle and I recently started using Spreaker as well. You don't necessarily need both, but I'm testing them both out. But there's Spreaker, there's Red Circle, there's RSS.com, there's Spotify, there's YouTube. I also use Substack, and I'm just figuring out which one works best for me. But
Uh,
that's in the
I have
platform.
I have a friend that used to use geez, Spreaker. She says it's
Mhm.
good for monetization.
That's right. So that's why I switched over to test that out, to test that theory. I want to be able, as an educator, as a mentor and coach, to be able
Mhm.
to back up the things that I suggest to you. So I'm testing out Spreaker. But yeah, I found out it was good for monetization as well. Whatever number of downloads you get per episode, they still have it in baked in where you can still monetize. So I'm testing out that theory. You do have to pay.
Yeah,
But the reason why it's good to know the platforms, it's how many shows or how many podcast shows do you have, what's in your budget, and all of that will help determine which platform you choose. What is your goal for your podcast? Is it monetization right away or is it growth? So you have to basically determine those things, which again goes back to the foundational principle, have a plan first, because when you know what your goals are, it helps you determine what the best platform is. The third P is the performance. Everything that comes with tracking your analytics, knowing which social media platforms are, um, are useful, are tracking well, are helping you get the engagement. All of that is important. I say make a habit of checking your analytics frequently every week. Maybe you set aside one day, 1 hour on a Sunday when things seem to like calm down for most families. But that's all a part of the performance is tracking and using that information to determine what you do next.
and
The fourth P is
go
promotion. What
go ahead.
promotion tactics are you using? How are you meeting your target audience on line or in person? What does that look like? What strategies are you using to reach the most people as possible? And the fifth P is then when you have established the first four P's is profit. A lot of misconceptions are that in order to monetize, you have to have a big sponsor supporting you, which is not true. And it's actually very difficult to get. There was a time where it was easier. However, it is more difficult now because there are so many people who have launched a podcast. So, what other creative ways can you start to profit from your podcast? That's something you should consider. Go ahead, Leonard, if you have something to add.
One of the ways that I was thinking about, one of the ways that you could do it is something called I don't know how it works, but there's something called Buy Me a Coffee.
What did you say? By who?
There's something like it's something that where somebody can give you like a donation. It's called Buy Me a Coffee.
Oh, buy me a coffee. That's right. Buy me a coffee. So it's basically, like you said, a donation platform. I don't know where my charger went. Um, but then there's also, if you're using your podcast to market your own products or services, you can, do that. You can say, hey, if you're a coach or mentor, I'm using my podcast and I'm going to add my own ad to promote my own consulting or coaching program. Or if you are smart, you'll repurpose your content and make it into digital products, maybe an ebook that you can sell. Maybe take your transcripts and turn those into um, visual notes that people could purchase from you. So, all of that said, we came here to talk about a website. Let's talk about the importance of a website. But again, the five P's were extremely important. And when you have that information, go ahead, I see you want to say something.
Yeah, and also be careful also because when you promote something on your podcast, some places like Anchor, like Spotify, uh, want you to click a box and say, okay, something sponsored here, even if there's a guest coming on and they want to talk about their business, but you got to click that box.
Okay, that's news.
They want to know that so they can tell their people that
Mm,
so they can put it on there. They automatically put it on there for you.
okay, noted. So if you go to plan2podcast.com, you're going to get my website. This is
Mhm.
where I talk about um, most of my podcasting services. So if you were to scroll down, there's the merch store, the Facebook group, my ebook, 52 Weeks of Podcasting Success. join our camp, etc. But here is the podcast pivot tool. The podcast pivot tool is a guided self audit designed to help you quickly identify what's working, what's not, and what needs to shift in your podcast over the next 30 days. Using this five-piece framework, planning, production, platform, performance, and promotion, this tool helps you pinpoint your biggest bottleneck, understand what's happening, and map out the exact area you should focus on first. So you fill this out. It takes all of 5 to 10 minutes of your time. And I'm going to actually do this in real time.
Is
And
this
I've done
uh
this
question
plenty of times before, but
question for you? Do you know
what is your
what
podcast about? Post City Hustle is about teaching small businesses how to prepare for the FIFA World Cup. All right, so I go through those steps and hold on one second. I'm going to stop sharing. If you want, you can chime in really quickly, Leonard.
Yeah, one thing that I do like about your website is that it's screen reader friendly.
Is user friendly?
Screen reader friendly.
So which website are you referring to? That's good to know.
The main website that I got from you.
For the group?
Yeah,
Hmm.
it's very easy to read. There's readers work. For example, with Zoom, there's certain things that it won't do, right? Like I have to click on like I had to click, for example, today I had to go click so that so that I could hear you through my headset.
Okay.
That's one of the problems that I was having. I did not remember to do that.
Okay. This is good information and good feedback. I appreciate you.
Oh yeah, I was here. I came here to learn, but I don't mind giving you feedback. I really
You
don't
came
mind.
here to learn and hit, look at you learning.
And just so you know, I purposely bought this computer to do podcast.
Okay. Good to
That's
note.
that's its main purpose. I use it for Facebook and YouTube and whatever else now, but
Right.
but it is something where I can sit here for hours and do work and do things, and
All right. Do you see my screen now?
it went black. Now you're back on. There you go. I see your screen now.
All right. So I've already filled out this, and actually, this is not the Whole City Hustle podcast one, but I fill this out because I've done a few of these type of tutorials. So this is talking about my other podcast, which I'm not currently doing, Talk Tacoma, but I'm going to copy everything from the form. And what it tells you on the form is that you're supposed to copy all of this. And then you're supposed to, it says, once you fill this out, don't skip this next step. You're going to copy the prompt after you fill this out. So the prompt is not actually included in this, but I'm going to copy all of this, put it in a ChatGPT and with the prompt that it comes with, and it's going to tell you exactly what you should do based on how you responded to these answers. So then let's go to ChatGPT. And mind you, I use ChatGPT multiple times a day, and I've been using it for a year or two at this point. So
Yeah.
it's a lot of stuff on this site I don't want you to pay close attention to. So I'll close that.
Is that
So
basically
these
chat?
are my answers again from filling out that podcast pivot form. This is basically what helps you get a solid plan going. We're going to use this because it's going to also help us create the website. So again, once you have the plan, everything else becomes a lot easier. So then I'm going to cheat. I'm going to go to, I wasn't planning on doing this, but as I'm talking out loud, I realize I do need to go back to Google Forms and find the podcast pivot form that I created and then go and get that
A question for you, real quick.
Mm-hmm.
Is ChatGPT free?
ChatGPT is free. However, it's better if you paid the $20 to get the uh, other benefits from it.
Okay, no problem. I just want to know because I'd like to go for free when I can. I know when it comes to website, I cannot go free because I don't know how to code.
I always forget where the
Let me ask you: is my ceiling? Do you hear my ceiling fan too loud?
what'd you say?
My is my ceiling fan too loud for you?
Are you seeing what?
Is my ceiling fan too loud? Is my ceiling fan too loud?
No, I don't hear anything.
Okay.
Mm, I always forget where it is that we add the prompts. Hold on. Okay, here it is. Confirmation. So once you complete that podcast pivot form, you are going to copy and paste all of your answers because it's going to send you your answers to your email. And you're going to also get this confirmation message. This is the prompt that I created based on how long I've been doing this and um, what I know is helpful. So you're going to copy and paste this prompt. I'm going to put this at the top of all of my answers here in ChatGPT. And this is what the outcome will look like. We're going to give that a minute. Your biggest bottleneck is your sound quality, or sorry, it's saying not even your sound quality or promo, it's the lack of simple, relatable systems. It's going to tell you 3 practical steps based on the way that we've prompted it and based on the questions that we asked. It's going to give you your 30-day action plan. And so this is a useful tool for a lot of you guys because a lot of you guys come in the group, you have all of these questions when you could actually go to this podcast pivot tool and get the exact help that you need. It's going to tell you the equipment you should purchase. It's going to tell you what steps you should make. All right, so we have that. Here's the 30-day plan. It's starting to go week by week. Again, this is how I prompted it. It's telling you exactly what you should do. Instead of going to everybody else for the answers, it's telling you a thorough strategy. However, it's good to sometimes be in community and get the answers as well. So
One
now
thing
I'm going
about
to say
right.
create a lovable prompt that will make me a website for my podcast based on these answers and what you know of my podcast, Talk Tacoma.
When going back to plan for 1 second, you have to know what computer you have going to use because it dictates what computer, what drivers you may, what equipment or what drivers you may need.
Yeah, it's not programmed per se to say what type of computers you need, but based on the fact that now it knows everything about your podcast because you filled out that form, you could then ask, okay, then now that you know so much about my podcast, what equipment would you recommend or what computer would you recommend? So it's not currently set up that way because that hasn't been a theme, but you could then ask a follow-up question like that and it wouldn't be a problem because now it knows so much that it has extrapolated that information from your podcast plan that you filled out. All right, so now I'm here at Lovable, lovable.com, or sorry, lovable.dev, spelled Lovable dot DEV. You can create an app, you can create a landing page, you can create a website in a little as a few minutes with Lovable. I will make sure to have the the code so you guys can get a few free credits so you can create your own website. But it comes out with a polished website. Um, why do you need a website for your business? Do you have any ideas, Leonard?
Yes, because nowadays people go to e-commerce. E-commerce is a big part of business right now.
Mm-hmm.
If you're not doing that, you have a hand tied behind your back. Let me say it that way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, lovable. I mean, websites are useful to because if you have a product, brand, or service and you want to market that, also websites are useful because it makes it much easier to navigate everything that you have going on. So all of your episodes can be easily accessed on top of your book that you purchased. I mean, that you are the author of, on top of your digital products. It just gives you a more polished professional look. And then also it helps people because Google is a search engine, YouTube is a search engine, LinkedIn is a search engine. It helps people find you a lot easier when your website is embedded with several keywords because of optimization, search engine optimization.
Another
So it
thing that
makes you easily accessible. If somebody was to say, I need a 10-minute quick meal for that is family friendly. Um, Maybe you talked about that on one of your podcast episodes. So if you have a website, it helps you show up on the top of the Google pages. Um, so that's why it's important. That's why it's useful. That's why it makes the perfect sense.
I can use keto as an example because I eat keto.
That's right.
Yeah.
So if your website talks about keto recipe, I mean, if your podcast is talking about keto recipes and then you have embedded that content onto your website, somebody can come across your platform.
One
So,
thing that one thing that I did do for Thanksgiving,
mhm,
I gave examples of how, one day I did a Thanksgiving episode. I gave examples of how my family eats and how I eat in Thanksgiving.
I like that.
The differences, you know what I mean? So I was like, oh,
Okay, so then let's go to my platform,
sorry.
Red Circle. Again, I use Red Circle because it allows me to upload
Hmm.
3 different podcast shows. So I have 3 shows: Talk Tacoma, Podcasting for Newbies, and Host City Hustle. So there's Talk Tacoma. I have not done a Talk Tacoma episode in so very long. The last one I did was back in June of this year.
Oh no. I say,
hmm
because you know what's gonna
Yep, I
happen?
put all of my efforts into podcasting for newbies, our community, and
Yeah.
now Host City Hustle, which takes things to a different level. So I'll revisit Talk Tacoma at some point, but right now I haven't. But what I can do is embed
Hmm.
all of my podcast episodes into the website. So if I go to embed podcast player here, which you should be able to, that makes you also determine what is the best platform, is if you can embed your podcast player into your website. So I see embed player here. I can say whether I want it a specific color, um, like if I want it to be red, but my colors are blue.
That's one of the things that I want a website for. Another place for people to land and listen.
hmm So my colors are more like blue,
You've
like
seen my
this, or a little lighter.
you've seen my colors, how they are.
So this, I would copy my HTML. So basically embed player. I'm going to add that to my Lovable podcast notes, the prompt that I just gave Lovable, so that they can add my podcast player. Um, let's see if you have any pictures or anything like that. So let me try to discover that. I don't remember. if they're easily accessible, because I wasn't going in this direction. I was going to use you guys as an example.
Okay,
Um,
but something else. Let me ask you a quick question.
mhm.
How do you feel about a picture as a podcast as podcast art?
A picture?
A picture like I have on my podcast.
What do you mean? Yeah, you need a picture. So do you mean without your face on it?
No,
Picture?
I have a picture. Have you seen my podcast art?
I don't recall.
It's a picture of me, um, adjusting this like I was using it.
Yeah.
So picture.
Yeah.
It's a
That's
still picture of
perfect.
that. That's what I did. So that's a good idea.
Yes.
And just
Um, what I will say
Mhm.
is whatever makes the most sense to help communicate what your podcast is about. Somebody might see your face and still not have clarity on what your podcast is about. However, I am on my podcast cover art, as I
Yeah,
shared. So,
yeah. That's how. And I love the pic. I love the picture there that you have. It's very interesting. Mm.
so on Red Circle, let's go back to all my podcasts. I have my picture right here, but it says podcasting for newbies.
Mm.
On here, I still have my picture for the Host City Hustle podcast. Here, I don't. I have a landscape. This is talking about Tacoma, so I just have the backdrop of the city, right? So it just makes whatever communicates what your podcast is about is the best method you should take. But then also, again, going back to my podcast pivot tool, now that ChatGPT has everything about your podcast, you can say, what is the best type of cover art I should use? So I could do that right now
One thing that I when
based on, mhm,
one thing that I had done through when I had my disability podcast, I had a similar thing to a parking, a disabled parking.
mhm,
It, wa-
excuse me.
I have it, and I still have the art. I didn't think of bringing it because I didn't think I was the only one here, but I have the art. It was done by a friend of mine. I
Yeah, if
can
you
share
know
it.
someone
Yeah, she did it.
who can do it, do it.
She did it
So
for me
this is
real quick.
basically saying what my cover art should be to
Hmm.
test out these different theories based on how I completed that form. So, you can still, again, go back to that podcast plan. It won't fail you. It'll answer all your questions.
But when I pivoted, I had to change it because it wouldn't fit.
Well,
When I
then
pivot,
that's just this issue of changing your dimensions. That's all.
no, no. When I went to when I pivoted my podcast, the disability icon did no longer fit, so I had to change everything around.
Yeah, but you can go to like Canva to resize your.
Yeah, you can recite, but I mean, because it used to be called the disabled life. Now it's called friends, food, and relationships.
Oh, okay. So the
That's
brand name didn't fit the direction that you were going in.
no, so I had to change. That's when I changed the artwork.
Okay, got you. I
I had to,
see.
I
Not
had
that
to
it
have
wouldn't fit because of dimensions, but it just didn't fit the brand.
no. When the name
Okay.
changed, everything had to change.
All right. So then I have everything from the podcast pivot tool. I embedded the podcast player. I added my logo. I'm going to press enter here. Now, this process can take, like I said, all of 5 to 10 minutes. Um, I'll share with you. This is where you can prompt it when it says ask Lovable. This is where you can do the visual edits. This is where you can actually talk and speak your thoughts because sometimes that's easier is if you talk it out instead of typing it out. Up here is where you check your security for your website. Here is where you check the analytics to see how many people are hitting the website. Here's where you change the coding of the website. And here's where this is like all of the back end stuff, your cloud. So if you want to save it to a cloud, so if anything was to happen, you don't have to rewrite the code. Or if you're using this for like a blog site, all of those things, you want to keep that saved to a cloud. I can close this sidebar and you won't see this anymore, but I'm going to keep it open. I can view the history because maybe I made a change and I want to go back to find out where I made that change, or maybe I want to retract on the changes so I can go back to review the history. Here, once you hit publish, is where you can change the domain name. So, for instance, if I was to go and buy the domain Talk Tacoma, I can add it here, which I think I do own the domain for Talk Tacoma, but I haven't, like I said, used this podcast in so long. I don't remember.
One thing that I
Right
do,
now, go ahead.
one thing that I do when I make major changes, like to my podcast or do a new episode, I have something called Time Machine on my computer. You know what that is?
No.
Okay, I have an external disk that I can say backup now. I can do a,
Okay.
I can do a backup if I'm afraid of losing something or something getting corrupted. I just say backup now and let it do its thing.
Okay, so I do have the domain for Talk Tacoma, so I can basically, and I do purchase the domain through GoDaddy. So this is what my website looked like before using Canva. It was very clunky,
Yeah.
and just not attractive at all, not aesthetically pleasing. But this is what I created using Canva. Again, I wasn't using Talk Tacoma that much, so I didn't really care. I just needed it for three things: follow us on Facebook, join our newsletter, or be a guest. All of that has kind of changed because I'm no longer doing the podcast. So I could go to Canva and I can mm, actually GoDaddy is where I have it. So I can essentially go to GoDaddy, copy and paste my URL, and transfer it over here. It's really easy. I'll show
Well,
you guys only halfway because I'm not prepared to actually take that step yet because I don't want people coming to this website with any expectations. So it's no sense of me publishing it.
just so
Um,
just so
what'd you
you
say?
know, just so you know, even though I get them, things get read to me when when things are too clunky, it turns me off.
Like
Like
what?
like when words are too big or too jumbled,
Mhm.
it just turns me off.
Exactly. So somebody, your website is the first impression that people have to determine if you are a professional or not. And so if they look at that other Canva website right here, they're going to be like, what is this? This is a joke. This is just a girl who wants to show off her pretty face. They're not going to necessarily take me seriously.
Yeah, you see all those big words,
Because also, when you look at
metaphors.
it from a phone, these words are really jumbled up. It
Yep.
doesn't look good.
No.
Yeah.
Mm-mm.
So, another reason why a website is important because it helps people determine if they want to follow you or not, if they believe you to be a professional or not, if they want to do business with you or not. So yeah, I appreciate you bringing that out because that's very true. A website is the first impression people have about you.
And I'll say when you're podcasting, don't be afraid to make mistakes like I did.
What were some of your first mistakes that you made?
Yeah, no consistency. You
No
experience
consistency.
you experienced one of my mistakes the other day. Not using the right way of booking you, sending you stuff. That looks bad if people don't know you. You know what I mean?
Right.
That's why I'm like, thank God it happened to a coach. You know why I say that? Because
Yeah,
you
let
talk
us know. Remember, you're talking to me and the people watching.
because you talked me through it, and I sat here and troubleshot it.
I
One of the things
appreciate
that I
that.
one of the things that I did, I forgot, and I came to sit down to start join this meeting, and I heard my living room with my family in the background through my headphones.
See?
So you know what I said? No, no. That's gonna cut my audio off.
That's so funny. But not a lot of people go back and listen to themselves. If you have a podcast, you should go back and listen to yourself, no matter how cringy it might be. It
Uh,
helps you to determine how other people are experiencing your podcast.
Even if, for example, I'll give you this tip. This machine here creates an MP3 file, but
Hmm.
always keep something like Audacity in your back pocket because there might be something you want to edit out. Like I'm gonna
Mm. Did you hear that noise?
no.
Oh, that sound lets me know that the website is complete.
Oh,
Wow.
so let me finish. What happened was I started talk. This girl started talking to me about personal things that she wanted me to know. Right? I forgot to turn the recording off. So you know what I had to do? Take a guess.
Delete that episode,
No,
scrap it.
no, I didn't scrap it. What I did is I went back to Audacity and erased the part that you know what I mean.
Oh, that's perfect.
I went back to Audacity and erased. It happened to my outro was gone, but I don't care.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm talking about?
Mm-hmm.
Because I she was talking about things that I didn't like. Wait a minute, whoa!
Mm-hmm.
So back up,
Mm-hmm.
go into Audacity and pull it. Just because you have a thing that makes an MP3 file for you or a WAV file, even if it says it finishes, don't get rid of your editing software because you know what happens.
Right.
Because if not, I would have had to scrap it.
So this is the outcome, you guys. I think that with little to no work on my part, all I had to do was complete a form that took me 5 minutes to complete,
Hmm.
copy and paste that into Lovable to get
Hmm.
this beautiful, beautiful looking website.
One little,
Some of
one
this
little.
stuff was a little fabricated, but then I can go back to the prompt here. You're going to run out of points unless you pay 25, 50, or $100 a month. But if you use my code, you can get, I think, 5 credits starting out. Um, and my suggestion would be do not press publish or do not press enter until you have everything in the prompt. You might want to use a notepad or use a word page before you paste it over here. So you make sure you get every little detail attached. I think you have up to like 6 to 8 attachments that you can include. Have everything already available on your notepad so you don't, you might be talking and you might lose some of that stuff. So you don't want to lose it. So at least copy and paste it over here, but have everything ready because you're starting out with only like 5 credits. It takes about a credit and a half every time you make a change. So you don't want to keep making changes and run out. But then also when you're ready to publish, you'll come here. You can use this domain that they give you, or you can add your own domain. So then I would add my domain, add existing domain here. I would go to, sorry, connect my domain here.
One thing I'm
I
gonna
would go to GoDaddy.com. I would pull, so let's go this route.
one thing I have to add. One thing I'm gonna add is when you're doing like I have to when I work my computer, I dictate to it. I have to be very careful that there's no typos.
That's right. So that's why start with the Word document first. Word document will identify those, misspelled words or the improper grammar. But then you can choose your domain. So if you choose your domain and use Lovable, then they will add lovable.app to the end of it. However, if you pull your own domain from like GoDaddy, it will just turn out to be talktacoma.com. But we talked to you guys about using that 5 piece pivot tool and then how you take that information, pull it from ChatGPT
Mhm.
to create a lovable website that looks like this. Let's go back and preview it. Um, and then, yeah, for this case, get featured. So somebody can click this link you would tell the prompt here, you would tell Lovable, make sure the get featured link leads people to the Google form where they will fill out the guest form or to my calendar where they will fill out and tell me the best day they want to be a guest. So you have all of these different tabs. You can change this based on how you prompt it about episodes, be a guest partners, all of the things. So this is what it looks like. I can say, go back to my embed player and I can change it so that the color is not blue because it didn't give me a website that was blue because I barely gave it any colors. But if you have your hex codes for your brand, again, going back to your podcast plan, if you have a podcast plan, you should have all of your hex codes, meaning the colors of your brand, what colors you're using, and all of that. So these are hex codes right here. If I look at this color wheel,
One thing
depending
that
on which colors I choose, will be the hex code.
one thing that I'm gonna say
So
is
this is the hex code F5A6 something something. So you should know your brand hex codes. But I can say, hold on, Leonard.
mhm,
I can say that I want this to now be orange so that it matches the aesthetic over here on Lovable. But go ahead.
one of one of the things I'm gonna say is, um, as a disabled person, sometimes podcasting can be difficult. Don't give up.
Don't give up. That's so good. I'm gonna end it with that because that was a strong, strong outro. Don't give up.
Oops, I didn't mean to do that to you. Give you that outro like that. Is that okay with you?
Yeah, I wouldn't have ended it there if it wasn't okay. I think that was strong. Don't give up. If you have questions, reach out. But meet us next Thursday. I think people are asking about monetization, so that might be the next thing that we talk about. People want to get sponsored so bad.
Yeah, I agree.
All right, so we're going to talk about it next Thursday. Meet us here, Podcast Power Hour at noon. Don't give up. Peace.